Welcome villagers, to the village hidden in the stories. I am your guide, KAGE, the creator of all the what-ifs you see on this channel, with your suggestions of course. I hope you like the video we have today. Please comment video ideas, and subscribe if you're new. Today we have What If Naruto Was in Miraculous Part 3, which I hope you guys like. Here are the shoutouts, and I want to thank all of you for commenting, and please keep doing so. And if you can support me, please do so on my Patreon, where you can subscribe for $5 to get early updates, text what if transcripts, thumbnails, other arts, and gaming videos. The link will be in the description, so if you can, please help out. So without further ado, let's get into this what if. Part 3, Calm Before the Storm. The sun cast a golden glow over Paris as Naruto stepped out of the school gates, stretching his arms behind his head. Wednesday afternoons were his favorite, no immediate responsibilities, just time to himself to explore the city. He adjusted the strap of his backpack and took off at a casual pace, blending effortlessly into the flow of students heading home. Unlike them, however, he had no intention of going straight back. He weaved through the streets, passing familiar bakeries and cafes, absorbing the sights and sounds of the city as he did every week. He loved these quiet moments, where he could just let his curiosity guide him. Some days, he'd stumble upon hidden alleyways or street performances. Other times, he'd climb up to lesser-known rooftops, enjoying the peace above the bustling city. Today, he found himself wandering towards the Seine, drawn by the gentle sound of water lapping against the stone embankments. He stopped at a bridge, leaning on the railing, watching boats pass below. The city's energy always fascinated him, so full of life, yet so peaceful in certain corners. He took a deep breath, letting the familiar rhythm of Paris settle into him. But something felt different. He wasn't sure why, but there was an odd feeling in the air, like he was being watched. He kept his expression neutral, but his senses sharpened, subtly scanning his surroundings. A group of tourists chattered nearby. A street musician played softly, and across the river, a girl on her phone seemed to glance in his direction more than once. Naruto frowned slightly before shaking it off. Maybe he was just imagining things. He exhaled, allowing himself to enjoy the moment again. This was his time, his break from everything else. And as always, Paris had something new waiting for him to discover. Naruto's footsteps echoed softly against the pavement as he wandered through the streets of Paris, taking in the familiar sights with the eyes of an explorer. It was a habit now, these weekly excursions, an excuse to stretch his legs, take in the city, and maybe uncover something interesting. And today, he did. The quiet sound of sniffles reached his ears from a nearby alley. Pausing mid-step, Naruto turned, spotting a small child huddled near a crate, rubbing their teary eyes. Kneeling down, he kept his voice soft. "Hey there, little one. You okay?" The child hiccuped, looking up at him with wide, watery eyes. I lost my mama," they whispered. Naruto's face softened as he ruffled the kid's hair gently. "That's rough, but no worries, I'll help you find her." The child sniffled again but nodded, taking his offered hand as he led them back toward the main streets. He kept his steps slow, scanning the area carefully while occasionally reassuring the child with small talk. It didn't take long before he spotted a frantic woman, eyes darting wildly as she searched the crowd. The kid gasped, "Mama." Before Naruto could say anything, the child bolted from his grasp, running straight into their mother's waiting arms. The woman clutched her child tightly, relief and tears mixing as she pressed kisses to their forehead. After a moment, she looked up, eyes locking onto Naruto. "Thank you," she breathed, voice thick with gratitude. "Thank you so much." Naruto smiled, waving it off. "Don't mention it, just glad they're safe." She gave him one last appreciative nod before leading her child away, their hands never parting. Naruto exhaled, stuffing his hands into his pockets. That's when he noticed it. A small, folded piece of paper rested at the edge of the sidewalk, partially hidden under a loose cobblestone. It hadn't been there before. Had the wind carried it? Curious, Naruto bent down and plucked it up. Unfolding it, he felt his breath hitch slightly. A red cloud. It was drawn in bold, deliberate ink, the edges smudged slightly with age. And beneath it, strange, almost familiar writing, coded symbols and letters that tugged at the back of his mind. His fingers tightened around the paper as a feeling of recognition, of something from long ago, clawed its way up. He had seen this before, he just couldn't remember where. The city around him continued as normal. But for Naruto, the air felt heavier, a whisper of the past brushing against the present. Pocketing the note, he straightened. He'd figure this out later. For now, home was calling. With that one thought, Naruto's phone suddenly rang, pulling him from his musings. He glanced down, an unknown number flashed on the screen. That was weird. He didn't usually get random calls. Shrugging, he answered. Yo, who's this? There was a slight pause before a familiar voice answered, sounding just a little nervous. Hey, Naruto, it's Marinette. Naruto blinked. Marinette? He stood up straighter, his confusion turning into mild curiosity. Didn't expect to hear from you. What's up? Wait, how'd you even get my number? Alia gave it to me, she admitted quickly. She said it was for emergencies, and stuff. Naruto chuckled. Emergencies, and is this one of those, and stuff moments? There was a shuffle on the other end, and then a voice, not Marinette's, spoke up loud and clear. Just ask him already, Alia muttered. Naruto raised an eyebrow, his curiosity only grew. Ask me what? Nothing, Marinette blurted out, then groaned as if regretting it immediately. I mean, not nothing, just, she took a deep breath. I was wondering if you maybe wanted to hang out? At the park, with me and Alia. You know, since we've all been busy and… Yeah. Naruto grinned at how flustered she sounded. A hangout, that actually sounds great, I'm always up for a break. Marinette let out a small sigh of relief. Awesome, I'll text you the details later. Looking forward to it, he replied, still amused. See you then. As he hung up, he shook his head with a light laugh. Marinette sure was something else. As Naruto approached the park, his thoughts drifted to his plans for later in the day, until he noticed the growing crowd. People gathered around something hidden beneath a large tarp, murmuring in excitement. It only took a few seconds for the realization to hit him. The unveiling, he muttered, his eyes widening before softening slightly. The city was honoring Fire Shadow, Ladybug, and Chat Noir, a tribute to their efforts as protectors of Paris. The mayor had made a public announcement, inviting them to witness the moment firsthand. Naruto had almost forgotten. Between everything else on his mind, the event had slipped through the cracks. But judging by the still-growing crowd and the fact that only Chat Noir seemed to be present so far, he wasn't too late. With a fluid motion, he stepped into a quiet alleyway. His body glowed faintly as he channeled his chakra, the shadows around him swirling to form his Fire Shadow attire. His black and orange suit materialized in an instant. Then, with a burst of speed, he was gone, racing toward the park, right on time. Marinette groaned, burying her face in her hands as she slumped onto her chaise. I messed it up, didn't I? Alia sat cross-legged beside her, arms crossed, giving her best unimpressed look. Girl, you turned what should have been a date into a casual park hangout. You fumbled, hard. Marinette let out a muffled whine. I panicked. Alia smirked, nudging her shoulder. Yeah, no kidding. You had the perfect chance to make a move, and instead, you invited him to an open park with all of us as a group. Marinette groaned louder. Why am I like this? Alia shrugged. Hey, at least you're hanging out with him, right? Marinette peeked at her through her fingers. That's not helping. Alia laughed, standing up. Come on, we're gonna be late for. She cut herself off, glancing at her phone before her eyes widened. Oh snap, the statue unveiling. Marinette blinked. Statue what now? Alia shot her an incredulous look. Are you serious? The city's unveiling a statue for Ladybug, Chat Noir, and Fire Shadow today. Marinette's heart skipped. That was today? Alia grabbed her wrist, already pulling her toward the door. Come on, we can still make it. As they stepped outside, Alia glanced toward the main square, where a growing crowd was gathering. I gotta check it out for my blog, she said excitedly, already pulling her phone out. But Marinette barely heard her. Across the street, an elderly woman stumbled, her bag of groceries slipping from her hands as she lost her balance. Without thinking, Marinette dashed forward, catching the woman before she could fall. Are you all right? She asked, concern lacing her voice. The old woman, clearly shaken, nodded. Oh dear, thank you, my groceries, I've got them, Marinette reassured her, quickly gathering the spilled items. Alia, already halfway toward the event, turned and called back, you coming? Marinette glanced up, then back at the woman, who was still regaining her footing. You go ahead, I'll catch up, she said, offering the woman a reassuring smile. Alia barely noticed, too focused on the event. Suit yourself, she called over her shoulder before hurrying off. Marinette sighed, turning back to the elderly woman. Let's get you home, okay? And just like that, her afternoon plans changed. Fire Shadow landed smoothly beside Chat Noir, settling into a simple crouch before standing upright. The other blonde turned to him, flashing a friendly grin. Sorry I'm late, Chat, to be honest, I lost track of time, Naruto admitted with an easy smile. Chat Noir chuckled, resting a hand on his hip. No problem, to be fair, I think, fashionably late is pretty perfect. Naruto sighed, shaking his head at yet another cat pun. Before he could respond, Chat Noir tilted his head curiously. What about Ladybug, do you know where she is? Naruto hesitated for a moment, thinking about his roommate. He had just talked to Marinette not too long ago, but he had no idea what she was up to now. He hoped she was okay. But knowing Ladybug, she could handle herself just fine. With a small shrug, Fire Shadow turned his attention to the mayor and the statue's creator. The crowd had only grown larger since his arrival, their excitement filling the park with cheers. It brought a small smile to Naruto's face, the city truly appreciated them. Would Ladybug really miss this? The mayor's voice soon cut through the noise, carrying a note of reluctant disappointment. Perhaps we should begin, it doesn't seem our other hero will be arriving anytime soon. At that, the sculptor immediately perked up, stepping forward with a pleading expression. Wait, just a little longer, I know she's coming, I can feel it in my heart. Both Naruto and Chat Noir raised an eyebrow at that, though for different reasons. Still, the mayor sighed and relented, allowing them to wait a little longer. Minutes passed. The crowd had reached its peak in size and volume, the anticipation almost tangible. But finally, after one last glance at his watch, the mayor let out a resigned sigh. The mayor tapped the microphone, the static momentarily quieting the crowd. With a final glance toward the empty space beside Fire Shadow and Chat Noir, he gave a small shake of his head. "It seems Ladybug won't be joining us today," he announced, his voice carrying a tinge of disappointment. "But we will continue as planned. Paris, let's show our appreciation for the heroes who protect us." With a dramatic flourish, he grabbed the edge of the tarp covering the statue and pulled it away. A wave of cheers erupted from the crowd as the grand statue was revealed. It was an impressive piece of work, a beautifully sculpted tribute to Paris's heroes. Ladybug, Chat Noir, and Fire Shadow stood side by side in the stone, each captured in a striking pose. Ladybug was mid-leap, her yo-yo extended as if she were soaring into battle. Chat Noir stood with his baton in hand, exuding confidence. And Fire Shadow stood firmly, his arms crossed, an expression of determination etched into the stone. Naruto took a slow breath as he observed the tribute. It was surreal. To have a statue dedicated to them, to see how much the people of Paris looked up to them, it wasn't something he ever expected. Chat Noir let out a low whistle. "Not bad, though, I feel like they could have made my hair a bit more dramatic." Naruto chuckled. "It looks fine, Chat." The mayor began to speak again, his bellow loud and full of joy at the occasion. "This statue is a gift to our heroes. A permanent reminder of their bravery and dedication to this city." He gestured proudly to the work before turning toward Fire Shadow and Chat Noir. "Would either of you like to say a few words?" Chat Noir grinned, stepping up without hesitation. "Oh, I can't resist an audience," he said playfully before taking the mic. Naruto took a step back, letting his fellow hero soak in the attention. But as Chat Noir began speaking, his usual mix of charm and humor, Naruto's thoughts drifted. Ladybug should have been here. Not just because she was their leader, but because this was something they had built together. He sighed to himself, crossing his arms in a relaxed manner. There was no need to worry, Ladybug probably just got caught up in something. For a beloved superhero, she could be surprisingly clumsy at times. The event wrapped up almost as quickly as it had begun. The crowd gradually dispersed, leaving the park bit by bit. Cheers and conversations faded into the distance, the excitement settling now that the unveiling was over. Naruto remained behind, still in his Fire Shadow attire, standing before the statue. He took a moment to really look at it, to take in every detail. It was strange seeing himself immortalized in stone like this. The artist had captured their presence well, every stance and expression carefully crafted. Naruto's gaze shifted from the statue to the sculptor lingering nearby. The man stood off to the side, shoulders slumped, staring at the ground as the last remnants of the crowd faded away. His expression was heavy, disappointment practically rolling off of him in waves. Naruto hesitated for a moment before approaching, his footsteps light against the pavement. "Hey," he called out casually. The sculptor flinched slightly, as if startled, before turning to face him. "Oh, Fire Shadow," the man muttered, forcing a weak smile. "Did you need something?" Naruto shook his head. "Not really, just noticed you looked kinda down." He tilted his head slightly. "Everything all right?" The sculptor let out a slow sigh, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's nothing, he stopped himself, then sighed again, heavier this time. "I really wanted Ladybug to see this." His eyes flickered toward the statue. "I poured everything into it, not just my admiration for you all as heroes, but for her." Naruto's brows furrowed slightly. "For her?" The sculptor gave a sheepish nod. He then placed a simple chalk-looking candy into his mouth, a sugar stick. It made him wonder if he was suing it to calm himself. "I wanted to express my love through this piece. I thought maybe, if she saw how much she means to me, she'd, love me back." His voice was laced with an odd mixture of hope and heartbreak, his fingers clenching into a fist at his side. For some reason, that explanation didn't sit right with Naruto. He wasn't sure why, but something about it bugged him. It was a strange feeling, one he couldn't quite place. His jaw tightened slightly, but he quickly pushed whatever it was aside, keeping his tone steady. Look, I get wanting to express yourself, but you shouldn't try to love someone you barely even know. His words weren't harsh, but they were firm. Ladybug's a hero, yeah, but she's also a person. She's got her own life, her own problems. Love isn't just about admiration from afar. The sculptor's expression darkened, but Naruto didn't notice. His hands clenched tighter, his posture stiffening as something unreadable flashed in his eyes. I see, he murmured, his voice was calm, too calm. I guess I was a fool to think she'd notice me. Before Naruto could say anything else, the man abruptly turned on his heel and stormed off. His steps quick and purposeful. Naruto watched him go, exhaling through his nose. Something about that conversation felt off. But he shrugged it off for now. Whatever it was, he'd deal with it later. Marinette sat on the park bench, phone in hand, tapping against the screen absent-mindedly. Even though she was the one who invited them, she couldn't shake the slight nerves bubbling in her chest. It was just a hangout, nothing serious, just some time with friends. So why did it feel different? Before she could dwell on it, she heard an unmistakable voice. Oi, I'm not late, am I? She looked up to see Naruto jogging toward them, a wide grin on his face, hands casually tucked behind his head. There was an easy, natural energy to him, like he was genuinely excited to be here. Marinette quickly shook her head. No, not at all, we just got here. Alia smirked, barely, you're way too eager for someone who got invited last minute. Naruto chuckled, what can I say, a guy's gotta appreciate the little things. And getting to chill at the park with friends sounds like a pretty great way to spend the day. Marinette felt her face warm at how effortlessly he said that. Anyway, what's the plan? Naruto continued, stretching his arms. Parkour, secret treasure hunt, some crazy citywide scavenger game? His grin turned mischievous. I mean, you are Ladyblogger Supreme, I wouldn't put it past you. Alia laughed, tempting, but no. This is just a normal, chill hangout. Naruto put a hand over his heart. Betrayal, I was ready for adventure. Marinette giggled, finally feeling her nerves settle. You get enough adventure as it is. Alia nudged him playfully, speaking of, how's the whole exploring Paris thing going? I heard something about a certain blonde breaking the record for running around the whole city in practically a day. Naruto scratched the back of his head, looking a little sheepish. It's been great, honestly I feel like I should slow down, he said with a chuckle. I don't know what it is, but there always seems to be something new about Paris, he continued with a smile. What have you been up to? Alia grinned. I've been working on covering everything about Ladybug, Fire Shadow and Chat Noir, but it's hard to keep up. Naruto nodded, genuinely engaged in the conversation. He and Alia bounced between topics effortlessly, and for a moment, Marinette felt a little left out. Until Alia turned to her, an almost knowing glint in her eye, that the dynamic shifted. Marinette's been working on something of her own too, Alia said, nudging Naruto playfully. You should totally ask her about it. Naruto turned his attention to her, his blue eyes bright with curiosity. Oh yeah, what kind of project? Marinette straightened a little, her face warming at the sudden attention. Oh, it's nothing that exciting. Just a new design for an accessory I've been working on. I was having some trouble figuring out the last part. Naruto leaned in slightly, genuinely interested. Can I see? She hesitated for a moment before pulling out her sketchbook, flipping to the latest design. It was a bracelet with an intricate clasp, something she had been trying to perfect for weeks. Naruto examined it closely, his brow furrowing in thought before he pointed at a part of the design. What if you made this part here a bit wider, that way, the clasp wouldn't feel so tight when you close it? Marinette blinked, looking at the sketch again with fresh eyes. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Naruto grinned, see, problem solved. For the next few minutes, they talked, Marinette explaining her ideas while Naruto offered his thoughts. The conversation felt easy, different from how he and Alia had been talking. Slower, more thoughtful. Naruto was taking the time to really listen, and she couldn't help but feel a little flutter in her chest at how focused he was on her and her work. It wasn't until she realized just how close they had gotten, shoulders almost touching, that her face went red. Naruto, oblivious as ever, didn't seem to notice, but Alia, sitting across from them, let out a quiet giggle. Before Marinette could even process what was happening, Alia's phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced down at it before her eyes widened. Whoa! What? Naruto asked, straightening. Alia turned her phone so they could both see. Fire Shadow just stole the Mona Lisa. In broad daylight, security cameras and all. Marinette gasped, that's impossible. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly, but Marinette didn't notice. Alia, on the other hand, leaned forward, her brows furrowing. You know, this is weird. The cameras caught him, but something about it doesn't sit right with me. Naruto tilted his head, keeping his expression neutral. What do you mean? Alia pursed her lips, clearly thinking hard. Fire Shadow's never done anything like this before. But also, she paused before turning to Naruto, her eyes sharp with curiosity. You're always running around Paris, right, exploring, you ever seen anything weird near the Louvre? Marinette blinked, glancing between them. Alia, what? Alia said, shrugging. Naruto's everywhere in this city. If anyone's noticed something off, it's him. Naruto let out a small chuckle, rubbing the back of his head. I mean, I see a lot of weird stuff, but I don't usually hang around the Louvre, too many tourists. Alia sighed, clearly not satisfied, but before she could press further, her phone buzzed again. I need to get over there for the blog, she said, already standing up. Naruto exhaled quietly before standing as well. I should probably check it out too, see you later. Marinette nodded, though her mind was still reeling. Naruto and Alia both hurried off, leaving her alone on the bench, staring at the image on the phone screen. Fire Shadow, a thief, no way. Something was very, very wrong. Naruto moved swiftly across the rooftops, his Fire Shadow outfit rippling in the wind as he closed in on the Louvre Museum. His expression beneath the mask was calm but tinged with irritation. Someone had framed him for stealing the Mona Lisa, and while he wanted to clear his name, he knew the real thief was still out there. That meant finding the chief of police before they left the scene. If he could just talk to them, maybe he could get some answers, or at least a lead. Landing in a crouch on a nearby rooftop, Naruto scanned the area. Police cars surrounded the museum, red and blue lights flashing in the dimming daylight. Just as he prepared to make his approach, the heavy thrum of helicopter blades filled the air. A voice blared from a loudspeaker. Fire Shadow, you are under arrest for the theft of the Mona Lisa. Surrender now. Naruto clenched his jaw. They really thought he did it. Whoever this copycat was, they must have done a damn good job impersonating him. He barely had a moment to consider his next move before officers on the ground began to close in, their vehicles forming a perimeter. TCH, they weren't going to listen. No choice, he had to move. With a burst of speed, Naruto dashed to another rooftop, but the helicopter adjusted its course, cutting off his escape. Instead of slowing down, he leaped, landing on the roof of a police car before bounding to another, using the vehicles like stepping stones. The helicopter swung lower, trying to box him in. Bad move. Naruto grabbed onto its landing gear mid-air, twisting his body before using it as leverage to propel himself forward. He landed in a roll, seamlessly regaining momentum. Now, the Louvre was directly ahead, its glass pyramid entrance shimmering under the late afternoon sun. He wasn't stopping. Naruto could feel it, the real culprit was still inside. The museum was still heavily guarded, meaning the police hadn't recovered the painting yet. The thief wouldn't have had time to escape. More officers rushed to block his path. One swung a baton at him, he easily dodged. Another reached for his arm, he twisted away. No need to hurt them. They were just doing their jobs. With one final burst of chakra-enhanced speed, Naruto vaulted past the last officer and dove through the museum entrance. Time to find the truth. Naruto paused for a moment, ensuring the doors shut firmly behind him. With a swift motion, he lined the entrance with his chakra, reinforcing them in an instant. If his clan could see the mess he was in now, they'd probably scoff in disappointment. Not that it mattered. He had no time for doubt, his name needed clearing. Naruto moved swiftly through the museum, his senses sharp as he navigated the empty halls. The Louvre's grandeur stood in stark contrast to the situation at hand. His first stop was the very spot where the Mona Lisa had been stolen. He crouched, scanning the area. The police had already combed through it, but people often overlooked the smallest details. Sure enough, near the edge of the display, a small piece of wrapping paper caught his eye. He picked it up, his eyes narrowing. A sugar stick wrapper. The same brand the sculptor from earlier had been eating. Naruto's mind worked quickly. Was he akumatized? That would explain the copycat. But why? Their last interaction hadn't ended badly, at least, not in a way Naruto thought would push someone over the edge. Before he could dwell on it further, a shift in the air put him on edge. Naruto ducked just in time as a figure lunged at him from above, aiming a kick at his head. He rolled back into a defensive stance, eyes locking onto his attacker, himself. Or at least, the perfect replica of Fire's shadow, down to the last detail. Not bad, the copycat said, standing tall with a smug smirk. You caught on faster than I thought. Naruto didn't respond immediately, instead eyeing his double carefully. He was identical, same height, same outfit, even the same aura. Whoever was behind this hadn't just copied his appearance, they'd copied his very presence. Not gonna say anything, the copycat taunted, casually rolling his shoulders. I thought you'd have more to say, considering how quickly the so-called justice system turned on you. Naruto remained silent, his expression unreadable. You saw it, didn't you? The copycat continued. One moment you're their hero, the next, all it took was a single lie and they were ready to take you down. Just like that. Naruto let out a slow breath, annoying. He wouldn't let himself be baited by words, though. He'd heard far worse. Are we fighting or are you just here to talk? He finally asked, rolling his neck. The copycat chuckled, oh, we're fighting. Without another word, the two clashed. The museum's halls became their battlefield as they exchanged blows, fists colliding in perfect synchronicity. It was like fighting a mirror, every strike Naruto threw was countered, every move met with equal force. Then, Naruto saw his opening. A feint. He went low for a sweep kick, only to leap at the last second, aiming a punch straight at the copycat's chest. But just before his fist could land, poof! A clone. Naruto barely had time to react before he sensed movement behind him. He twisted, just in time to see his double smirking. "Oh, you thought I couldn't use your abilities," the copycat mused, two more clones forming beside him. Naruto frowned, "That complicates things." Fine, if the copycat wanted to play that game. Poof, two clones appeared beside Naruto, mirroring the enemy's formation. The final clash came in an instant. The four clones rushed forward, meeting in a flurry of movement. The sound of fists meeting flesh echoed through the halls, each fighter moving in perfect synchronization. It was a battle of equals, until, in the final exchange, Naruto's clone managed to land a solid hit, sending the copycat stumbling back. But before Naruto could press the advantage, the copycat grinned. "Not bad," he admitted. Then, in a blur of movement, he leaped backward, disappearing into another part of the museum. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He wasn't running, he was leading him deeper. With a deep breath, Naruto cracked his knuckles and took off after him. Naruto slowed his pace, his mind racing as he pieced together the situation. Why was this guy his copy? He had encountered the sculptor earlier, but nothing about their conversation had seemed tense enough to push someone into Hawkmoth's grasp. Still, the evidence pointed at him. His copy had been the one to steal the Mona Lisa. His copy had been the one to frame him. Naruto clenched his fists. Was that the entire point? It was almost too obvious. This wasn't just about. Ladybug gave him a knowing look. "Not all of us make dramatic entrances through the front door, Fire Shadow." "And really," Chat Noir added with a smirk, twirling his baton, "you think we wouldn't know something was up if you, of all heroes, stole the Mona Lisa? This copy is really unbelievable." Naruto rolled his eyes beneath his mask but let the comment slide. Despite everything, he was grateful for the backup, glad that his team hadn't turned on him. But there were more important things to focus on right now. "So, what's the plan?" Chat Noir asked, folding his arms. Naruto took a breath, organizing his thoughts. "The guy copying me is definitely the sculptor from earlier. I found a sugar stick wrapper, the same brand he had. But here's the thing, it doesn't make sense." Ladybug tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "Hawkmoth usually wants your Miraculous. But this guy, he went straight for framing me instead," Naruto explained. "Why, what does Hawkmoth get out of this?" Ladybug frowned, tapping a finger against her chin. "That is strange. Maybe he's trying something new," Chat Noir suggested, but even he didn't seem fully convinced. Naruto crossed his arms. "Either way, we need to stop him before he tries something else." Ladybug nodded in agreement. "Then we should split up and search. If he really is after you, Fire Shadow, there's a good chance he'll try to lure you out again." Chat Noir gave Naruto a teasing grin. "Guess that makes you the bait." Naruto smirked under his mask. "Wouldn't be the first time." With that, the three heroes split up, each disappearing into different parts of the museum, their search for Copycat beginning in earnest. Ladybug moved swiftly through the left wing, eyes scanning every shadow, every corner. Her grip tightened around her yo-yo. She had no doubt Fire Shadow was innocent, but the fact that someone could copy him so perfectly was unsettling. She had seen akumatized villains take on many forms, but this was different. This wasn't just an illusion or a mindless puppet, this was someone acting like Fire Shadow, using his abilities, and weaponizing his reputation. As she rounded a corner, a flicker of movement caught her eye. She barely had time to react before a figure stepped into the dimly lit corridor, arms crossed, stance casual. "Looking for me," Copycat drawled, an infuriatingly familiar smirk on his face. Ladybug's heart clenched for a split second, not because she was fooled, but because of how perfectly he mimicked Fire Shadow's presence. The way he stood, the way he tilted his head, even the slight amusement in his voice, but it wasn't him. She set her stance, eyes hard. Nice trick, but you're not Fire Shadow. Copycat chuckled, slow and deliberate. And yet, you hesitated. Ladybug didn't dignify that with a response. Instead, she flicked her yo-yo forward, aiming to wrap him up before he could pull anything. But just as the wire reached him, poof! The copy dispersed in a puff of smoke. Ladybug's eyes widened. A shadow clone? A voice whispered behind her, "Smart girl." She spun, bringing her yo-yo up to block as Copycat struck, their battle beginning in earnest. She caught his fist, twisting his momentum against him and hurling the copy away. He slammed into the wall with a heavy thud, but before she could press the advantage, he was already on his feet, unfazed. Two more clones flickered into existence beside him, their movements synchronized as they rushed her. Their coordination was unsettling, every strike fluid. Every step calculated. The main copy lunged first, sending a sharp kick toward her. Ladybug blocked, bracing herself, but the second clone was already moving, delivering a precise strike to her side. She gritted her teeth as the impact sent her stumbling, but she refused to go down. Regaining her footing, she retaliated in an instant, driving a powerful kick into one of the clones, dispelling it in a puff of smoke. She followed up with a barrage of punches and kicks, forcing the remaining two on the defensive, yet no matter how fast or unpredictable she tried to be, they always seemed one step ahead, dodging, weaving, countering with impeccable timing. It was like fighting someone who already knew her every move. Her eyes narrowed. Of course. He's copying Fire Shadow's instincts. This wasn't just an illusion or some mindless mimicry. Whoever this was, they weren't just pretending to be Fire Shadow, they understood how he fought. The copy smirked, rolling his shoulders as he circled Ladybug with an almost lazy confidence. Come on, ma chérie, you've fought with Fire Shadow for weeks now. Tell me. Which one of us do you like more? He winked. Ladybug scoffed, eyes scanning for an opening. I prefer the real one. Harsh, he chuckled, tilting his head. But I get it. You think the original's more trustworthy, don't you? His smirk widened. Too bad trust is such a fragile thing. Ladybug's fists clenched. But she held her ground. You're wasting your time trying to mess with me. Am I? His voice was teasing, but there was an edge beneath it. You follow his lead so easily, but how much do you really know about him? Before she could respond, he suddenly formed a hand sign. Fire style, fireball jutsu, a roaring ball of flames shot toward her. Ladybug's eyes widened as she leaped out of the way, the heat searing the air around her. Oh? The copy mused, watching her reaction. I bet Fire Shadow didn't tell you he could use elemental attacks. Ladybug didn't respond, but the doubt started creeping in. Fire Shadow can do that? It wasn't the first time she'd seen him pull off impossible feats. But why had he never mentioned something so major? The fight continued, Ladybug pushing forward with rapid strikes, but the copy dodged each one effortlessly, always grinning. He kept talking, each question hitting deeper than the last. Does he ever tell you where he came from? Did he mention why he's different from you in Chat Noir? Ever wonder why Hawkmoth doesn't accumatize him like the rest of Paris? Ladybug faltered, just for a second. And the copy caught it. His smirk sharpened. With a final leap back, he dashed toward a nearby exit. You're strong, Ladybug, but even you have questions you haven't asked yet. Ladybug lunged forward, but it was too late. He was already disappearing into the shadows. The last thing she heard was his voice, smooth and taunting. Did you know? Even Hawkmoth is interested in your teammates' secrets. Ladybug remained frozen for a moment, her mind racing with the copy's words. She shook her head, trying to push it aside. It's just a trick. He's trying to get into my head, but still. Fire Shadow had always been an enigma. She'd trusted him because he'd been there since day one. He fought beside her, protected the city, and had never given them a reason to doubt him. But the copy's words scratched at something in the back of her mind. Why doesn't Hawkmoth target him? How does he do things no one else can? Ladybug clenched her fist. She wouldn't let doubt take over. But she also couldn't ignore what had been said. With that, she turned on her heels and dashed toward their rendezvous point. When she arrived, Chat Noir was already there, pacing slightly. He looked up as she landed. Well, I take it you had your own run-in with our beloved imposter? Ladybug sighed. Yeah, you? He scoffed, resting his staff against his shoulder. Oh, you know, same old, got attacked, got insulted, had my entire partnership with Fire Shadow questioned by a smug faker, no big deal. Ladybug frowned. What did he say to you? Chat Noir's expression darkened, just for a moment. Mostly just the usual villain talk, but... He hesitated before rubbing the back of his neck. He did keep bringing up how little we actually know about Fire Shadow. Ladybug crossed her arms. Same here. He kept asking me things I never thought to question before. Chat Noir exhaled, tapping his staff against the ground. I hate to admit it, Bugaboo, but it's kinda working. I mean, I trust Fire Shadow, I really do, but... He didn't finish the thought, he didn't have to. Ladybug understood exactly what he meant. Before she could respond, Fire Shadow landed near them, looking as composed as ever. I lost sight of the copy. Did either of you find anything useful? Ladybug and Chat Noir exchanged a quick glance before turning back to him. Ladybug kept her tone even. Not much, just some fights and a lot of talking. Fire Shadow tilted his head slightly, as if sensing something was off. Talking? Chat Noir forced a chuckle. Yeah, our copycat's got a real gift for words. Thinks he can get in our heads. Ladybug hesitated for just a second before adding, he also mentioned that Hawkmoth is interested in you. Fire Shadow was silent for a beat, his expression unreadable beneath his mask. Then, he simply shrugged. I'd be surprised if he wasn't. Ladybug huffed. There he goes again, deflecting. She wanted to press, to ask more, but now wasn't the time. They had a villain to catch. Let's focus, she said firmly. We need to find the real culprit and stop him. Fire Shadow nodded, his usual ease returning. Then let's get moving. With that, the three of them split up once more, but for the first time since they'd started working together, a seed of doubt had been planted. Naruto moved swiftly through the halls of the museum, his mind running through everything that had happened. He wasn't unsettled by the fight or the accusations, he knew who he was, and he knew the truth would come out. But the way this copy spoke was starting to irritate him. He rounded a corner, only to come to an abrupt stop as he found himself face to face with his doppelganger once more. The fake Fire Shadow leaned casually against a marble statue, arms crossed, smirking beneath his mask. Well, back again so soon? Naruto didn't rise to the bait, he simply straightened, eyes sharp as he took in his clone stance. You're talking a lot for someone who just ran away. The copy chuckled, pushing off the statue. Why fight when words can do so much more? Haven't you ever wondered how much your so-called partners trust you? Naruto's expression didn't waver, they trust me just fine. The fake scoffed, stepping closer. Oh, do they? Because I'm not so sure. You heard what I said to them, you saw the way they hesitated. A few well-placed words, and suddenly, the unshakable fire shadow isn't as solid in their eyes anymore. Naruto's gaze remained firm. You think I care what you say, you're nothing but a bad imitation. The copy grinned, you should care, because once that doubt starts, it doesn't stop. And when I'm done, they won't just question you, they'll fear you. Naruto's eyes narrowed, you can try all you want, it won't change anything. Oh, but it already has, the copy tilted his head. Chat Noir and Ladybug already had questions, I just gave them a little push. And Ladybug, well, she's especially fun to mess with. The fake fire shadow smirked as he circled Naruto, his posture confident, cocky even. You know, I don't get it. He mused, tilting his head. You have the admiration of Paris's beloved Ladybug, and you're just wasting it. Naruto raised an eyebrow beneath his mask. Admiration? The copy let out a low chuckle, eyes gleaming with mischief. Oh, don't play dumb, I saw the way she looks at you. The way she trusts you without question. He placed a hand over his chest dramatically, it's almost romantic. Naruto blinked, what? The copy laughed, come on, Ladybug and Fire Shadow, the perfect duo, the city's strongest heroes, always fighting side by side. She clearly likes you, and you don't even appreciate it. Naruto stared at him, half in disbelief, half in amusement. Was this guy serious? Did he actually believe that? Seeing Naruto's lack of reaction, the fake narrowed his eyes. You're really oblivious, huh? His smirk returned, this time with an edge. Well, no matter, since you're too blind to take what's being handed to you, I will. Naruto exhaled sharply, unimpressed, and how exactly do you plan to do that? The fake's grin widened, simple, I become you. Naruto's expression darkened slightly as the copy continued. Ladybug already hesitated back there, didn't she? I saw it in her eyes, a seed of doubt. He spread his arms, all I have to do is keep pushing, and soon she'll start thinking, maybe she never really knew the real Fire Shadow. Naruto's gaze remained calm. You think you can replace me? The copy chuckled, I already have your face, your voice, even your abilities. And once Ladybug sees that I'm everything you should be, well. He shrugged, she'll realize who the better Fire Shadow really is. Naruto stared at him for a long moment, then sighed. You know, I was expecting a real strategy from you. The fake's grin twitched, what? Naruto tilted his head. All this talk, and your grand plan is stealing my identity to impress Ladybug, he let out a short laugh. Wow. The copy scowled. TCH, you think this is a joke? A little bit, yeah, Naruto admitted, cracking his knuckles. But hey, if you want to embarrass yourself, be my guest. The copy growled. Mock me all you want, but when Ladybug starts questioning everything, we'll see who's laughing then. With that, the fake Fire Shadow launched forward, kunai in hand. Naruto shifted his stance, ready for him this time. Alright, copycat, he muttered. Let's see if you can actually back up all that talk. The battle resumed in full force. Naruto raised his hand, summoning a bow staff in a flash of red-orange chakra. He spun it once, feeling its familiar weight before gripping it firmly. The fake Fire Shadow lunged, kunai slashing through the air, but Naruto blocked effortlessly, the staff clashing against the blade with a sharp crack. The copy pressed forward. Striking fast and relentless, yet Naruto met each attack with perfect precision, his bow staff twisting, parrying, and redirecting each blow. And that's when Naruto saw it. The copy may have had his face, his abilities, but he didn't have his mentality. His movements were erratic, fueled by frustration rather than strategy. He wasn't as calm as Naruto, wasn't as disciplined. His attacks were aggressive but sloppy, leaving openings Naruto could exploit. He's too caught up in proving himself, Naruto realized. I can use that. Naruto smirked beneath his mask. What's the matter? He asked, easily sidestepping another reckless lunge. Getting frustrated? The copy snarled. Shut up, he swung hard, too hard. Naruto leaned back, dodging by a hair's breadth, before countering with a sharp strike to the fake's ribs. The copy staggered, growling, eyes burning with anger. There it is, Naruto kept pressing. You really thought you could replace me? He spun his staff, slamming the end into the ground. But look at you, you can't even control your emotions. Another growl, another reckless swing. Naruto ducked low, sweeping the copy's legs out from under him. The fake hit the ground hard, but before he could recover, a yo-yo wrapped around his wrist, and a staff pressed against his back. Naruto didn't even need to turn. He knew Ladybug and Chat Noir had arrived. Nice of you guys to join the party, Naruto said casually. Couldn't let you have all the fun, Chat Noir quipped. Ladybug, however, kept her gaze locked on the fake fire shadow. This is over, she declared. Naruto nodded. But before they made their final move, he grabbed a paintbrush, one left behind by a museum worker, and swiftly painted a blue X across his own chest. The fake blinked in confusion. What the hell? Just making sure no one gets mixed up again, Naruto said with a smirk. The copy snarled in frustration, but he wouldn't get another chance to fight. Because in the next second, they struck together. The moment Naruto painted the blue X across his chest, Ladybug and Chat Noir launched into action. Chat Noir's staff struck first, extending rapidly to knock the fake fire shadow off balance. The copy barely had time to react before Ladybug's yo-yo wrapped around his arm, pulling him forward into a devastating kick from Naruto. The fake tumbled backward, but as he rolled to his feet, he snarled, his hands sparking with fire. He's about to go all out. Chat now, Ladybug called. Chat Noir didn't hesitate. He activated Cataclysm, his hand turning pitch black as he lunged forward. The fake dodged, barely avoiding destruction, but it left him open. Naruto took his chance, sweeping forward with his bow staff and slamming it into the fake's ribs. Ladybug followed up immediately, flipping over and snapping her yo-yo forward. The string wrapped around the copy's wrist, pulling him off balance once more. You're done, Ladybug declared. The copy growled in frustration, attempting to escape, but Naruto noticed something, a glint of paper sticking out from his pocket. That's it. Naruto lunged forward and ripped the slip of paper free. It was a photo, an image of Ladybug, slightly crumpled. And at the center of it, the dark glow of the Akuma. Ladybug, Naruto called, tossing it to her. Ladybug caught it instantly, crushing the picture in her hands. No more evildoing for you, she declared. The paper tore apart, releasing a black butterfly into the air. She swung her yo-yo, catching the Akuma within it, and with a flick of her wrist, Miraculous Ladybug. A surge of energy spread through the room, restoring the museum, erasing the chaos. The fake fire shadow shimmered, his features melting away as he reverted back into the sculptor Naruto met earlier. The man collapsed to his knees, gasping. His eyes darted around in confusion before landing on Naruto. You, he muttered, guilt evident in his face. I didn't mean to. Naruto approached, lowering his staff. Hey, he said gently. It wasn't your fault, Hawkmoth messed with your head. The sculptor swallowed hard, still shaken. I just wanted Ladybug's admiration, but I realize now that wasn't, and then after that it's a blank. Naruto sighed. I get it, Hawk Moth got to you, you shouldn't feel bad about it. The man chuckled weakly, yeah, I got it. Ladybug stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on the sculptor's shoulder before turning to Naruto. Good thinking back there, she said, eyes studying him carefully. Naruto simply shrugged, just doing my job. But he could feel it, the slight hesitation in her voice. The weight of Copycat's words still lingering in her mind. And he knew, this wasn't over yet. Naruto stretched his arms behind his head, glancing between Adrien and Nino as they walked along the sidewalk. The afternoon sun hung lazily in the sky, casting a warm glow over the streets of Paris. He had been looking forward to spending time with his friends today, but Adrien, as usual, was hesitating. I don't know, guys. My father, Adrien started, rubbing the back of his neck as his eyes flickered with uncertainty. Nino groaned, rolling his eyes. Dude, come on, you've been locked up in that mansion all day, right? What do you think is gonna happen if you have fun for once? Is your dad gonna send his army of fashion police after us? Adrien let out a small, nervous chuckle, but the hesitation in his expression remained. Naruto, catching the slight shift in Adrien's posture, knew Nino's approach, while well-meaning, might not be the most effective. Stepping forward, Naruto clapped a hand on Adrien's shoulder, his grin easygoing yet reassuring. What Nino means is, you've already done everything your father needed you to do today, right? So there's nothing wrong with taking a little time for yourself. You deserve it. Adrien hesitated for a moment before exhaling, the tension in his shoulders easing. I mean, I guess I did finish all my lessons, and photo shoots. Exactly, Naruto said, nudging him playfully. And we're not talking about anything crazy, just a trip to the arcade. You ever played those games before? Adrien shook his head, not really, my father never let me go to places like that. Nino gasped dramatically, placing a hand on his chest. Dude, that's criminal, we have to fix this immediately. Naruto chuckled, looks like you don't have a choice now, Adrien, we're gonna give you the full experience, let's go. Adrien hesitated for a fraction of a second longer, but then a small, genuine smile formed on his face. Alright, you win. The three quickly made their way through Paris, quickly making their way to the game center. The arcade was buzzing with energy, the flashing lights of game screens reflecting off Naruto's bright grin. He, Adrien, and Nino stepped inside, greeted by the familiar chime of tokens dispensing and the faint electronic jingles of high scores being beaten. Alright. Nino said, cracking his knuckles. First up, we gotta see who's the real king of the arcade. I say we start with dance battle, Naruto cut in, already making a beeline for the rhythm game. He tossed a look over his shoulder at Adrien, his grin widening. What do you say, pretty boy, think you can keep up? Adrien let out a breathy chuckle, shaking his head. I feel like I don't have much of a choice. Exactly, Nino laughed, slinging an arm around Adrien's shoulder. Besides, you could use some moves outside of fencing, dude. Naruto was already hopping onto the dance pad, rolling his shoulders in preparation. I'll go easy on you guys. That, as it turned out, was a lie. The moment the music started, Naruto was a blur of motion, feet tapping in perfect rhythm with the flashing arrows on screen. Adrien and Nino did their best to keep up, but it was obvious within the first few seconds that Naruto had the advantage. By the time the song ended, Naruto stood victorious, barely winded, while Adrien and Nino groaned at their defeat. You do this in your free time or something, Nino huffed, hands on his knees. Naruto crossed his arms, shrugging. I like to keep moving, and hey, it's just practice for dodging any traps when I explore the city. Adrian chuckled as he straightened. Alright, that was fun, but let's see how you handle something with a little more skill. He gestured toward the air hockey table. Think you can beat me? Naruto's eyes gleamed with excitement. Oh, you're on. The games continued from there: air hockey, racing simulators, claw machines. Naruto won some, lost others, but every game was filled with laughter and light-hearted trash talk. Even Adrian, who was usually more reserved in public, looked completely at ease, his usual careful demeanor replaced with pure enjoyment. At one point, Nino managed to pull off a surprise win in a shooting game, throwing his hands up in victory. Finally, I beat one of you. Naruto clapped him on the back. I'll give you that one, but only because I got distracted. Oh yeah, Nino smirked. By what? Naruto shrugged with a playful grin, thinking about what snack I'm gonna buy after this. Adrian shook his head, laughing. Speaking of which, weren't we going to try all the stall food outside? Naruto's grin widened. You guys better keep up, because I'm not slowing down. With that, they gathered their tickets, claimed their prizes, which mostly consisted of cheap trinkets and candy, and made their way outside, ready to take on the next challenge, eating their way through the best street food Paris had to offer. The lively buzz of the food stalls filled the air as Naruto, Adrian, and Nino weaved through the crowded streets, their hands full of skewers, pastries, and other local treats. The scent of sizzling meats and sweet confections mixed with the warm breeze, creating an atmosphere that felt almost magical in its simplicity. Alright guys, Naruto announced, holding up a skewer of grilled meat with a simple smile. The rule is, no holding back, we try everything at least once. Finally, something I can get behind, Nino cheered, already biting into a fried dumpling. His eyes widened in delight. Okay, this one is good, you gotta try it. Adrian chuckled, shaking his head as he took a more hesitant bite of a different snack. I think I like this one, he said, holding up a small pastry filled with chocolate. It's not too sweet. Just perfect. Naruto snatched one up from the tray and took a bite. Oh yeah, he said after swallowing, that's a winner, but nothing's beating this ramen. Trust me, this is the peak of food right here. If I didn't know any better, I'd say liking ramen is in your blood, Nino pointed out with a smirk. It was clear Naruto loved the stuff, 10 bowls stacked haphazardly around him. Naruto shrugged, that's because food is amazing. Adrian watched the two of them banter with an amused smile. Moments like this felt rare, like stepping into a different world, one where he wasn't just Gabriel Agresti's son, but just a normal teenager hanging out with friends. And, for once, he wasn't worried about anything else. But that peace didn't last long. A deep rumble shook the ground beneath them, causing the trays on the nearby stalls to tremble. The once lively atmosphere turned to one of confusion, then fear as a sudden burst of wind sent loose napkins and paper food trays flying. A second later, a figure made entirely of shifting rock and molten lava emerged from the street ahead, its form crackling with raw energy. With each step, its body shifted, lava cooling into hardened stone, only to crack open and reform into molten fury again. What the? Nino stepped back, his grip tightening around his food. Is that an akumatized villain? Adrian finished, his eyes narrowing. And not a small one. The figure raised an arm, and a torrent of water erupted from the street, solidifying the ground into slick ice before instantly turning into jagged spikes. People screamed and ran, chaos erupting as stalls were overturned. Naruto's expression sharpened, the lightheartedness gone in an instant. We need to get out of here, he said, already scanning for the best routes of escape. He turned to Adrian and Nino. Come on, no time to waste. Nino nodded quickly, grabbing Adrian's wrist. Come on, man, we gotta go. Adrian hesitated, his mind already shifting to his transformation. Yeah, you go ahead, he said quickly, already looking for a way to slip away unnoticed. Naruto's eyes locked onto the rampaging villain as they shifted from molten rock to a swirling storm of wind and crackling lightning. The chaos in the streets grew louder, but his focus remained sharp. With one last glance to ensure Nino and Adrian were gone, he pivoted and dashed into a nearby alleyway. No time to waste. His fingers pressed against the sleek surface of his watch. With a single tap, the mechanism activated, black and orange bands snapped to life, unraveling in a rapid cascade. The fabric whipped around his arms first, spiraling upward as if drawn by an unseen force. The bands tightened, layering over his torso, shoulders, and legs, each motion seamless, fluid. His jacket materialized in an instant, the coattails flaring as a final strip of cloth coiled around his face, settling into his mask. The last flicker of orange energy pulsed through his gloves as he clenched his fists. In the space of a heartbeat, Fire Shadow stood where Naruto had been. The transformation was complete. If you get that transformation reference, comment where it's from. Naruto stepped out of the alley, rolling his shoulders as he eyed the rampaging elemental villain. Now in his Fire Shadow form, he felt the comforting weight of his jacket settle against his back. The akumatized villain, Elementor, loomed in the center of the street, shifting between his different forms. 1 second, he was molten rock, radiating intense heat, the next, a swirling vortex of wind and lightning. Civilians screamed and scattered, desperate to escape the destruction. Naruto exhaled, feeling the pulse of his chakra flow through him. His target was unpredictable, shifting at random, but that just made things interesting. With a blur of movement, he dashed forward. The moment he was in range, he jumped, twisting mid-air to deliver a powerful kick toward Elementor's side. But the villain reacted faster than expected, shifting into pure wind at the last second. Naruto's foot passed right through, and a sudden burst of air sent him skidding back. TCH, he landed smoothly, boots sliding against the pavement. Alright, so you're gonna be annoying. Elementor cackled, his form crackling with static before surging forward, sending a bolt of lightning straight at Naruto. Reacting instantly, Naruto raised a hand and channeled his chakra. Sparks danced as the energy met his palm, dispersing in a flicker of orange and black. Gonna have to try harder than that, Naruto said, smirking slightly. Elementor roared, shifting into molten rock again, hurling a chunk of burning debris at him. Naruto leapt onto a street lamp, flipping over the projectile before launching himself forward. He spun in midair, forming a sphere of condensed black chakra in his palm. Alright, let's see how solid you are, he slammed the attack into Elementor's rocky torso. The impact sent a shockwave through the air, cracks forming along the villain's hardened body. For a moment, it looked like the hit would do serious damage, until Elementor shifted again, dissolving into pure water. The attack phased through, leaving Naruto with nothing but a misty explosion in its wake. Landing lightly, he narrowed his eyes. Great, that's gonna be a pain. Just as he prepared to launch another attack, a familiar voice rang out. Need a hand? Naruto turned his head slightly, spotting Ladybug and Chat Noir arriving on the scene. Ladybug swung in first, landing gracefully with her yo-yo spinning at the ready, while Chat Noir hopped down beside her, twirling his staff. Perfect timing, Naruto said, cracking his knuckles. This guy's got a little bit of everything. Don't worry, Ladybug said, assessing the situation. We'll take him down together. Naruto smirked, wouldn't have it any other way. The fight quickly turned into a test of reflexes and endurance. Elementor shifted constantly, 1 second, a surge of flames, the next, a rushing tide of water, then a jagged storm of lightning. Every time they struck, he transformed, making their attacks useless. Ladybug lashed out with her yo-yo, aiming to wrap him up, but he turned into wind, slipping through effortlessly before retaliating with a gust strong enough to send her skidding back. Naruto gritted his teeth as he dodged a hail of fireballs. He dashed in low, aiming for a quick strike to disrupt Elementor's form. But just as his fist connected, the villain turned into a splash of water, reforming behind him. A jagged bolt of lightning shot toward him, forcing Naruto to flip backward to avoid the hit. Chat Noir intercepted with his staff, absorbing some of the blast before being forced back himself. "This is just like what your copycat did," Chat Noir shouted as he ducked a rock-hard fist swinging toward him. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He had nearly forgotten about that, but Chat Noir had a point. The way Elementor changed made it impossible to land a solid hit, just like that imitation jutsu from before. Ladybug landed beside them, eyes darting around for a plan. "We can't hit him if he keeps changing before impact. We need a strategy." "Yeah, and we need it fast," Naruto muttered, flipping away just as Elementor slammed his molten fist down, leaving cracks in the pavement. Another wave of wind sent them all back, and then came the fire again, forcing them to scatter. Every time they closed in, Elementor pushed them away with another elemental blast. Ladybug gritted her teeth, "We're wasting energy dodging, this isn't working." Naruto clenched his fists, frustration bubbling up. He didn't like running, but this wasn't a fight they could brute force, they needed time. Ladybug made the call, "We have to retreat." On it, Chat Noir took off first, vaulting up onto a nearby rooftop. Naruto hesitated for half a second before following, leaping up just as another wave of fire burst beneath him. Ladybug swung away last, just as Elementor roared, sending a crackling bolt of lightning after them. It barely missed, scorching the edge of the rooftop. They regrouped a few buildings over, out of Elementor's sight for the moment. Naruto exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "That could have gone better." Ladybug nodded, eyes sharp with thought. "We need a new plan." Chat Noir stretched his arms behind his head, rolling his shoulders as they took a brief moment to catch their breath. "Phew, so, any bright ideas, Malady, because personally, I'm not a fan of playing dodgeball with a walking natural disaster." Ladybug tapped her chin. Lost in thought. "We need to find a way to hit him without him switching elements to avoid the damage." Chat Noir smirked and leaned closer to her. "Well, you know me, always ready to put my staff to good use." "Maybe if Chat," Ladybug interrupted, giving him a pointed look. Naruto shook his head, arms crossed beneath his cloak. "This really isn't the time, man." Chat Noir sighed dramatically, "Fine, but you can't blame me for trying to lighten the mood." Then he turned to Fire Shadow, raising an eyebrow. "Speaking of new tricks, got anything flashy up your sleeve? Maybe an ability you've been saving for a rainy day?" It was a joke, mostly, but there was something in Chat Noir's tone. That undercurrent of curiosity just a bit too sharp to be dismissed entirely. Ladybug stiffened slightly at the comment, her expression unreadable as her mind visibly wandered. Naruto exhaled through his nose, already feeling the headache forming. He could see where Chat Noir was going with this, and judging by the way Ladybug was reacting, she was considering it too. He rubbed the back of his head. "I could probably learn something that could help, but it'd take a few minutes." Chat Noir blinked, "Wait, what?" Ladybug turned her attention back to him, eyes widening slightly, "You can?" Naruto shrugged, "Yeah, but that means you two have to keep him busy while I figure it out." The way he said it, so casually, made it even more unnerving. Ladybug and Chat Noir exchanged a quick glance. You're telling me, Chat Noir began, narrowing his eyes, that you can just learn a whole new power in a few minutes? Naruto met his gaze evenly. If I really focus, yeah. Chat Noir let out a slow whistle. Well, isn't that convenient? His tone was light-hearted, but the suspicion had settled just a little deeper. Ladybug's lips pressed into a thin line as she considered it. The way Fire Shadow said it, it wasn't just confidence, it was certainty. Like this wasn't new for him at all. Naruto sighed, catching the look they were giving him. Less staring, more stalling. Guys. Ladybug nodded, snapping back into focus. Right, if Fire Shadow can find a way to land a hit, we just have to buy him time. Chat, let's move. Chat Noir gave one last glance Fire Shadow's way before smirking. Alright, but you better come up with something cool, no pressure. With that, the two of them took off, leaving Naruto standing there with a quiet exhale. Yeah, no pressure at all. Naruto stepped back, his fingers already brushing the edges of his scroll. The sounds of the battle faded into the background as his mind sharpened. He wasn't a stranger to battles like this, but today felt different. There was an undercurrent of suspicion, even if it wasn't fully out in the open. Chat Noir's probing comment about new tricks lingered in his mind. He could feel their eyes on him, watching him more closely than ever before. I guess it's only natural, Naruto thought, his hand unfurling the scroll with a practiced flick of his wrist. Since that copycat incident, they've started to wonder what I can actually do. It's not exactly a mystery, but it's different now. His eyes scanned the scroll until they landed on the technique he'd been eyeing for a while, Rasengan, a technique tied to pure chakra. It wasn't the type of jutsu to just pull off in a few minutes, but he hadn't a sinking feeling that he was going to do exactly that. He had the raw power to pull it off. And it could give him the edge he needed right now. Not to mention, the complexity of the Rasengan suited his way of thinking. It was an evolving process, not something that could be mastered in an instant, but then again, time wasn't something he had in abundance. Naruto exhaled slowly, focusing all his attention on the scroll in front of him. He could feel the rush of chakra swirling through him, building up, the elements around him reacting. The Rasengan required a unique blending of elements, wind and chakra manipulation at its core, but Naruto wasn't worried. He had done this before, even if it was with a different intent. He knelt down and focused all his energy into his hands. As the chakra began to spiral and condense in his palm, his mind drifted briefly back to the suspicion he'd sensed earlier. They weren't wrong to question him, after all, they didn't know what he could do, how much power he really had, how it worked. They didn't know that his powers were rooted in chakra, not in the miraculous, and it had to seem like a giant, unexplained mystery. He had the feeling that Chat Noir's casual comments were testing him, probing for an answer. But they didn't need to know the full truth, not yet. Naruto closed his eyes, refocusing. He didn't mind their doubts, not really. It was what they had to do, keeping secrets. Ladybug and Chat Noir had their own reasons for hiding their true identities. And even though Naruto's situation was different, his powers were a product of something far older than the miraculous, he could understand why they would question his abilities. They had their own limitations and vulnerabilities, and so did he. But that didn't mean he couldn't play his part for now. He didn't owe them the full truth, not yet. His chakra surged, and the Rasengan began to form, swirling with the intensity of wind and energy. He had learned a long time ago that he didn't have to hide everything, but timing was everything. The right time would come soon enough. Naruto tightened his grip around the forming ball of chakra, the swirl becoming more distinct. I'll tell them when the time is right. But for now, I'll focus on finishing this. When the Rasengan had fully formed in his hand, he opened his eyes and stood, ready to finish the fight. The moment he had spent focusing on his powers had cleared his head, but there was still the issue at hand, the elemental villain threatening Paris. He shot a glance in Ladybug and Chat Noir's direction. They were already moving, engaging the enemy again. Naruto smiled slightly. For now, I've got a job to do. And I'll do it in my own way. He charged forward, Rasengan crackling in his hand. The fight wasn't over yet, and neither was his time to tell the full truth. But that would come. He was sure of it. Naruto took a steady breath, his grip tightening around the swirling orb of chakra in his palm. The Rasengan pulsed, its energy raw but controlled. Ladybug and Chat Noir were still keeping Elementor busy, dodging bursts of fire and water as the villain shifted forms, but they weren't making progress. Now was his chance. Ladybug, Chat Noir, Naruto called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. Keep him distracted for just a few more seconds. Chat Noir, currently vaulting over a wave of ice, shot back with a smirk. You got some fancy new attack up your sleeve, Fire Shadow? Naruto ignored the probing tone, already dashing forward. Just keep moving. Ladybug, ever the strategist, caught onto his intent without hesitation. She swung her yo-yo, wrapping it around Elementor's rocky arm as he transitioned into stone form. With a sharp tug, she threw him off balance. Chat Noir, now! Chat Noir spun midair and lashed out with his staff, striking Elementor's shoulder just as his body shifted to wind. It didn't do much damage, but it forced him to stagger back, just enough for Naruto to close the distance. Elementor turned, his body flickering between elements, trying to react. But Naruto was already there. The Rasengan connected. The impact was immediate. The swirling chakra forced Elementor's shifting body to destabilize, disrupting his elemental control. Sparks of electricity flickered in the air, his wind form scattering chaotically before he reformed, struggling to maintain cohesion. The Rasengan tore through his defenses, sending him skidding across the ground before slamming into a nearby wall. Ladybug's eyes widened at the sheer force of the attack, but she didn't hesitate. She spotted the akumatized object, an amulet around his neck, still pulsing with dark energy. That's it, she shouted. She sprinted forward, yo-yo snapping out. Elementor barely had time to react before she snagged the amulet and yanked it free. With practiced ease, she crushed it beneath her foot, the dark mist escaping before she purified it with a flick of her yo-yo. A moment later, the energy around Elementor faded, and the villain collapsed. In his place, a dazed civilian sat on the ground, blinking in confusion. Miraculous Ladybug. Ladybug tossed her yo-yo into the air, unleashing a wave of magic that rippled across the city, restoring everything that had been damaged in the fight. Naruto stepped back, watching as the world pieced itself back together. The battle was over. Chat Noir let out a low whistle, turning to Naruto with a look that was half impressed, half suspicious. Gotta say, Fire Shadow, you keep pulling out surprises. Ladybug's expression was more thoughtful. She glanced at Naruto but didn't say anything right away. Naruto simply shrugged, forcing an easy grin. Had to try something, couldn't let you two do all the work. Chat Noir chuckled, though there was still something lingering in his gaze. Ladybug, however, was more reserved. Naruto knew what they were thinking. He'd shown them something new today, something powerful. And now, more than ever, the questions about what he could really do would only grow. I'll tell them soon, but not yet. For now, the battle was won, and that was enough. That's it for today. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe, and comment ideas if you can, and maybe you could share this with your friends, because you never know, they might like what ifs too. so without further ado, all KAGE, out.